Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. My name is John Green. I'm the manager of the Swindon Town Swoodly Poopers. In a stirring turn of events, it is raining in England, but because it is cold, that rain is coming down as snow. It's like April. I don't know what the deal is with the weather, but anyway, everything will be fine. That's a good-looking ball, but it's all for nothing. We're playing Fulham in the Premier League. We're still in 5th. I keep wanting to do a Swoodly Pooper update where I show you the league table, but I want to show it to you when we're in 4th, and all the teams above us keep freaking winning. So, also, right now we're in a period where we're playing 3 games in 5 days. Oh, he's through! Oh, he is! Oh! I think that might have been D-Mother Flippin' Fox. And I promised I would say his full name if he ever scores, and I would have. I was ready. That's a great, everything was perfect, and it results in a beautiful goal. Oh, it's Bald John Green in the 10th minute against Fulham. Before I can even tell you what I'm going to talk about today, Bald John Green. Oh, beautiful stuff. Look at that. He had position, and he finished because he's a finisher. I'm going to talk about a little bit about why I like art in the context of one particular photograph that I like a lot. So, when I was a younger person in the 1990s, the halcyon days, the 1990s, when I was in college, I became obsessed. My friend Will Hickman was really interested in this novelist named Richard Powers, who wrote about science and history and computers and love and everything in a way that made technology and everything and everything like scientific and mathematical and musical and intellectual just seem hot and fascinating and exciting and I still remain convinced. I mean, Richard Powers went on to win the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Award, and I still what the F, Ricardo Bunsen-Burna. That was a great opportunity for a second, possibly even a first-degree Burna, but instead you gave up a goal. Wow. I mean, that partly goes to number 22. I don't know their numbers, but I mean that wasn't particularly good defense by me. But Ricardo Bunsen-Burna didn't even really make a play on the ball. Anyway, so fortunately, no, he couldn't keep it down. So anyway, Richard Powers wrote this novel called Three Farmers on Their Way to a Dance. It was his first novel, and it's inspired by a famous August Sander photograph. I might be mispronouncing his name, and if I am, I apologize, but mispronunciation is kind of my thing, to be fair. Called Three Young Farmers on Their Way to a Dance, which was taken in 1914, and it depicts three young men of the working class dressed up in the full regalia. There will be a link in the doobly-doo to the picture, or maybe we'll just put it on screen. I don't know if it's in the public domain though, so there will be a link. So it just depicts these three young farmers, but it's called Three Young Farmers on Their Way to a Dance, 1914. So it's these 3 German farmers who are dressed up for this dance. But of course, you know from the date of from the fact that the date is in the title of the work that the dance in question is not only whatever dance they're going to, but on that they are also 3 young farmers on their way to the dance that is World War I. And so Richard Powers' first novel is largely about this photograph. Sort of imagines the lives of these three young German farmers, who are on the cusp of what becomes sort of arguably the most violent, at least in terms of how little was accomplished in the end, conflict in human history, and I guess that's arguable. You could say the 30 Years' War, the 100 Years' War. There were a ton of big-time conflicts in human history in which very little was accomplished, come to think of it. But yeah, so World War I, though, a great example of bloodshed for very little one. But this photograph, I mean, you look into these young men's eyes, and you see the whole of it. You see the pleasure of getting dressed up for a dance when you're a farmer in 1914. You see industrialization at work in what they're wearing. and in the fact that they're even able to, that they have access to this kind of relative luxury in terms of their clothing, and you also see in their eyes the excitement, both the excitement and the fear, and in their pose, as if they have stopped on their way to something very important. And so it captures something about the historical moment, but it also captures something about the life of it's sort of the nature of being a young person. That they're also at this. They're not just at a historical crossroads. They're also at these personal crossroads of adolescence and having, the bright and terrifying future in front of them. I mean, these are single guys. They won't always be single. Someday they'll have kids. They'll be married. They'll have all these responsibilities, and all of that's in front of them, and you can see how in front of them it is in their eyes. And that's a good example. This photograph is a good example of how modern and contemporary art gets a lot better when you pay attention to it. And I think one of the frequent criticism of contemporary art that it isn't really art, because I could do that, it misses the really vital fact that that's something that you say when you aren't paying attention. Frankly, that's something you say when you're trying to dismiss something intellectually and not think hard. That's a sort of that. Yeah, you were offside. That's a avoidance strategy, an intellectual avoidance strategy, to be like, that isn't interesting, I could do that, and to make the decision that it isn't interesting after after looking at something for a nanosecond with no context. One of the pleasures to me of being in a museum is that the museum, at least if the wall texts are good, can provide the context that I need to think harder about the work's art historical significance, and then also to understand, because Three Young Farmers on Their Way to a Dance is a great example of a photograph that you could easily look at and say, oh, look, that's a picture of three young farmers on their way to a dance. Nowadays, that would be no big deal because people take pictures all the time. But when you see it in its historical context and its art historical context, it becomes a much more interesting thing to look at, and not just to look at once or twice, but to look at again and again and again and again, and to sort of grow your relationship with this thing and your appreciation of it. And that to me is what contemporary art does when it's really working. It offers us an opportunity to look at things in a sustained and lasting way, and to kind of really get something out of that experience of looking and paying attention. I should have probably had more midfielders in my substitution lineup. I don't know what I was thinking. I apologize to my friends and family. But I guess I'll take out Ginger Rampage. He seems tired, and I'll bring in One Size Fits All. He sometimes scores off headers. Twice as Vice is. I got to bring in somebody for these guys. I'm worried Twice as Vice is going to get hurt, so I'm going to bring in. Yeah, I guess I'm going to bring in. Oh no, I'm going to bring in. Yeah. This is what I'm going to do. I've got it figured out. Don't you guys worry. Then I'm going to do the old. Nope. There we go. Now it's working. Great. Now I've got the guys up front I want, and D. McGoldrilox isn't going to be great on the wing, but he won't be terrible either. Okay. So, so the importance of, so to me, the pleasure of contemporary art is in the sustained paying of attention, which is precisely a thing that's very difficult to do. And I acknowledge its difficulty. But I don't think that it does anyone any good to be dismissive of work that people who are engaged in the field celebrate. This is also true. Like I for instance, I just made a Swindon Poopers video a few weeks ago, in which I was probably in retrospect way too dismissive of the work of economists who have come to different conclusions about the role government regulation plays in GDP growth versus not a good cross versus the economists I was quoting. Did you see that apparition that just happened with John Honorise? That was pretty fascinating. So, yeah, I think in general it's good not to be dismissive of people who've put a lot of work into a field. At least not very dismissive, which is somewhat related to the video, Swoodly Pooper's video I think I'm going to make tomorrow, which is going to be about how to argue. There's Leroy Williamson. Oh, Leroy Williamson never gets dispossessed. That's not realistic. We got to try to win this game, by the way. Otherwise, we're never going to go into the top 4. We need to get really focused. So I wanted to. Wow, we could have given up a goal there. Just celebrate. Admittedly, you know, my wife works in contemporary art, so I'm a little bit biased. But I do want to celebrate some modern and contemporary visual art, because I feel like it gets way too much flack, particularly the conceptual stuff, which in many cases is super interesting, and it only gets flack. Oh, why of all the places you could have passed? It only gets flack because it's people you know, who refuse to accept the sort of intellectual provocativeness of the concept, and want art to be sort of merely uncomplicatedly beautiful. But the more you think about what constitutes mere uncomplicated beauty, the more you realize that there actually is no such thing, and that beauty is in fact a kind of conceptual art in and of itself. I think that must have been blocked or something, because that did not go as I wanted it to. There we go. Good pass. Oh! There was a massive opportunity. There was a massive opportunity, but he seemed to get the ball lost, and then an unnecessary slide tackle. I think I've got to go all out attacking. Got to go ultra attacking. There go the boys. Now they're running. They want it. Ball. John Green wants it. Okay, we got a corner kick. I think my goalie might come up for this corner kick, which is fine with me. Oh, come on, boys. You're better than this. Don't let that be the end of the game. Give me one more chance. Oh, it's a terrible throw-in. And that's the end of the game. It's a 1-1 draw. Disappointing. I apologize to my friends and family. Fulham, of course, are celebrating. And look, they're angry. The Swoodly Poopers are going to go back to the locker room, and they know that they're going to get a stern talking to from their manager. We could have played that one better. Are we going to regret those lost 2 points? Only time will tell. Thanks for watching. Best wishes.